Welcome to Lesson 8 of Story-Based English. In this lesson, we have a delicious story for you. It is about a young cook who wants to learn the secret recipe of a famous chef. By the end of this lesson, you will know 10 new vocabulary words, and you will understand the difference between gerunds and infinitives. This is one of the most important grammar topics at this level, and many learners find it tricky. But do not worry, by the end of this lesson, it will feel much clearer. Let's begin. Okay, here is our first sentence. Listen carefully. Sam enjoyed working as an apprentice in the kitchen of a renowned restaurant, even though the hours were long. Let me read that one more time. Sam enjoyed working as an apprentice in the kitchen of a renowned restaurant, even though the hours were long. All right, let's dig into this sentence. It sets the scene perfectly. First, the word renowned. Renowned means famous and admired. If a restaurant is renowned, many people know about it and respect it. A renowned scientist, a renowned university, a renowned chef. Renowned is more formal and positive than just famous. Someone can be famous for bad reasons, but renowned always means respected and well known for good reasons. Now, the second word is apprentice. An apprentice is a young person who is learning a skill or trade by working with an expert. In the kitchen, an apprentice watches the chef, helps prepare food, and slowly learns the craft. This tradition is very old. For hundreds of years, people learned jobs like blacksmithing, tailoring, and cooking by working as apprentices. Now, here is the big grammar point. Look at this part. Sam enjoyed working. The verb enjoy is followed by a gerund. A gerund is the ing form of a verb used as a noun. Working, cooking, reading, swimming. Some verbs in English must be followed by a gerund, not an infinitive. Enjoy is one of them. You say, I enjoy cooking, not I enjoy to cook. Other verbs like this include avoid, keep, finish, mind, suggest, and consider. For example, she avoids eating late at night. He keeps forgetting his keys. I finished reading the book. Why do some verbs take gerunds? There is no simple rule. You just need to learn them. But here is a helpful pattern. Verbs about emotions and ongoing experiences often take gerunds. You enjoy doing, you keep doing, you avoid doing. Can you make a sentence using enjoy plus a gerund? For example, I enjoy learning English. Perfect. Great work. Now let's see what Sam wants to learn from this famous chef. Here is sentence 2. He wanted to learn the chef's secret recipe, but the chef insisted on keeping it private, preferring to teach only by letting Sam watch. One more time. He wanted to learn the chef's secret recipe, but the chef insisted on keeping it private, preferring to teach only by letting Sam watch. Oh, this sentence is packed with grammar and vocabulary. Let's take it apart. First, the word insisted. To insist means to demand something firmly. When you insist on something, you are very clear that you want it, and you will not change your mind. If your friend insists on paying for dinner, it means they really want to pay, and they will not accept your money. If your boss insists that you finish a report, it means you must do it. And the second word is observing. Actually, let me rephrase. In this sentence, the idea is that the chef preferred to teach by letting Sam watch and observe, not by giving him the written recipe. But let's focus on the word observing, which means watching carefully and paying attention to details. Observing is not just looking, it is active watching with purpose. Now, the grammar. This sentence is a goldmine. Look at these parts, wanted to learn and insisted on keeping. Here we have both an infinitive and a gerund in the same sentence. Want is followed by an infinitive. He wanted to learn. You say, I want to eat, not I want eating. Insist is followed by on plus a gerund. He insisted on keeping. You say she insisted on paying, not she insisted to pay. Other verbs that take infinitives include decide, hope, plan, agree, refuse, and promise. For example, she decided to leave early. They agreed to help. He promised to call. So here is the big picture. Some verbs take gerunds, enjoy, avoid, keep. Some verbs take infinitives, want, decide, hope. And some verbs take on plus a gerund, insist, focus, depend. You do not need to memorize every verb at once. Just pay attention as you read and listen to English. Over time, the patterns will feel natural. Excellent! Sam is learning by watching. Now let's see what he discovers in the kitchen. Here is sentence 3. Every evening, Sam noticed the chef adding a subtle ingredient that he could not quite identify, something that made every dish extraordinary. Let me read that again. Every evening, Sam noticed the chef adding a subtle ingredient that he could not quite identify, something that made every dish extraordinary. Now, here is where the mystery deepens. First, the word ingredient. An ingredient is one of the things you use to make a dish or a recipe. Flour, sugar, salt, eggs, these are all ingredients. If a recipe has many ingredients, it is complex. If it has few, it is simple. We also use ingredient in a non-food context. People say hard work is a key ingredient for success. It means an essential part. Now, the second word is subtle. Subtle means small, delicate, and not immediately obvious. A subtle flavor is one you barely notice at first, but it makes a big difference. A subtle smile is a small smile that is hard to see. A subtle change is a tiny change that most people would miss. Subtle is a tricky word because the B is silent. You say subtle, not subtle. The dishes in this kitchen are extraordinary, but have you ever had food that has no flavor? We call that bland. Bland means lacking strong features or characteristics, and therefore uninteresting. A bland meal has no flavor. A bland person has no personality. That subtle ingredient prevents the dishes from being bland. Notice something interesting here. Sam noticed the chef adding. The verb notice can be followed by an object plus a gerund or base form. I noticed him leaving, or I noticed him leave. Both are correct, but the ing form emphasizes that the action was in progress when he noticed it. And here is a connection to what we learned earlier. Remember that Sam is working as an apprentice, which we learned in sentence 1? A good apprentice observes carefully. That is exactly what Sam is doing. He is using his observation skills to spot this subtle ingredient. Let's pause for a quick review. We are halfway through. We have learned some fantastic words and grammar so far. Do you remember what renowned means? Right, it means famous and respected. And what is the difference between a gerund and an infinitive? Great. A gerund is the ing form used as a noun, like cooking. An infinitive is to plus the base verb, like to cook. And which does the verb enjoy take, gerund or infinitive? Exactly. Enjoy takes a gerund. I enjoy cooking, not I enjoy to cook. Excellent. Let's continue the story. Here is sentence 4. Pay close attention to this one. One night, Sam dared to ask about it, and the chef stopped cooking, looked at him, and said, "If you stop trying to find the answer and start watching more carefully, you will understand." One more time. One night, Sam dared to ask about it, and the chef stopped cooking, looked at him, and said, "If you stop trying to find the answer and start watching more carefully, you will understand." This is the heart of the story, and it is also the most important grammar moment. Notice the word dared. To dare means to have the courage to do something risky or scary. When Sam dared to ask, it means he was brave enough to ask even though he was nervous or afraid of the chef's reaction. Notice, dare is followed by an infinitive. He dared to ask. You can also say, he did not dare to speak. Now look at what the chef says. Stop trying to find the answer and start watching more carefully. Here we have two verbs that change meaning depending on whether you use a gerund or an infinitive. Stop and start. Stop cooking means the chef stopped the action of cooking. He was cooking and then he stopped. But stop to cook would mean he stopped doing something else in order to cook. The gerund tells you what he stopped doing. The infinitive tells you why he stopped. Similarly, stop trying means stop the action of trying. But stop to try would mean you pause in order to try something. And start watching means begin the action of watching. Start to watch means almost the same thing, but the gerund is more common in everyday English. This is the trickiest part of gerunds versus infinitives. Some verbs like stop, remember, and try change meaning depending on which form you use. Here is a classic example. I remembered locking the door means I have a memory of locking it. I remembered to lock the door means I did not forget to lock it. Different meanings. Take your time with this. It is one of those grammar points that gets clearer the more you practice. What deep advice from the chef! Let's see what Sam discovers next. Here is sentence 5. Stunned by the chef's words, Sam spent the entire next week watching without asking a single question, and slowly the secret became clear. Let me read that again. Stunned by the chef's words, Sam spent the entire next week watching without asking a single question, and slowly the secret became clear. Oh, this is beautiful. Sam is learning patience. The word stunned. Stunned means so surprised that you cannot react for a moment. It is even stronger than astonished or shocked. When you are stunned, you freeze. You cannot speak. You cannot move. You just stand there. Think of it as surprise so powerful that it paralyzes you for a moment. Now, look at the structure of the sentence. Watching without asking. Both watching and asking are gerunds here. And notice the preposition without before asking. This connects to an important pattern. After prepositions, we always use the gerund form. After without, after before, after by, after about, after for. Always the ing form. Without asking, not without to ask. Before leaving, not before to leave. After eating, not after to eat. He is also interested in learning. She is good at cooking. They are tired of waiting. After prepositions, always gerund. This is actually a very clear rule, much easier than knowing which verbs take gerunds or infinitives. With prepositions, it is always, 100% of the time, the gerund form. And here is a nice connection. Remember the chef's advice from sentence 4? He said, stop trying and start watching. Sam followed that advice. He stopped trying to figure out the secret and started watching. The advice worked. Sam has been watching patiently. Let's find out if he finally discovers the secret. Here is our final sentence. Listen carefully. The secret was not about finding a special ingredient. It was about caring enough to taste, adjust, and taste again until every dish reached perfection. That was true mastery. One last time. The secret was not about finding a special ingredient. It was about caring enough to taste, adjust, and taste again until every dish reached perfection. That was true mastery. What a beautiful ending. And notice how perfectly it connects to our grammar lesson. First, the word mastery. Mastery means having complete skill or knowledge of something. When you have mastery of a subject, you understand it deeply and can do it with excellence. Mastery comes from the word master. A master chef has mastery of cooking. A master musician has mastery of their instrument. The path to mastery is long. It requires patience, practice, and care. That is exactly what this story teaches us. Now, look at the grammar in this final sentence. It was about finding, it was about caring. Both are gerunds after the preposition about, and caring enough to taste uses an infinitive of purpose. She cares enough to taste. The infinitive explains why she cares. So in this one beautiful sentence, we have both gerunds after prepositions and infinitives of purpose working together perfectly. And here is the complete picture. The chef's secret was not a special ingredient. It was a process. Finding, caring, tasting, adjusting. All gerunds. All ongoing continuous actions. That is poetic, right? The grammar reflects the message. Gerunds express ongoing actions, and mastery is an ongoing process. You never stop learning. You never stop improving. You just keep caring enough to try again. I think that is a lesson that goes beyond English. Do you agree? All right, now that we have broken everything down, let's listen to the entire story one more time, from beginning to end. Just listen and follow along. Sam enjoyed working as an apprentice in the kitchen of a renowned restaurant, even though the hours were long. He wanted to learn the chef's secret recipe, but the chef insisted on keeping it private, preferring to teach only by letting Sam watch. Every evening, Sam noticed the chef adding a subtle ingredient that he could not quite identify, something that made every dish extraordinary. One night, Sam dared to ask about it, and the chef stopped cooking, looked at him, and said, "If you stop trying to find the answer and start watching more carefully, You will understand. Stunned by the chef's words, Sam spent the entire next week watching without asking a single question, and slowly the secret became clear. The secret was not about finding a special ingredient. It was about caring enough to taste, adjust, and taste again until every dish reached perfection. That was true mastery. And that was our story for this lesson. What a wonderful message. And that is a wrap for this lesson. You did amazing work on one of the trickiest grammar topics in English. Let's look at everything you learned. Vocabulary. You learned 10 new words: renowned, apprentice, insisted, observing, ingredient, subtle, bland, dared, stunned, and mastery. 10 new words. Grammar. You mastered the difference between gerunds and infinitives. You know that verbs like enjoy, avoid, and keep take gerunds. Verbs like want, decide, and hope take infinitives. And verbs like stop and remember change meaning depending on which form you use. You also learned the golden rule. After prepositions, always use the gerund. Always. Be proud of yourself. Gerunds versus infinitives is one of the hardest topics for English learners, and you have made real progress. Head over to the quiz section to test yourself and practice in the role play section. Try using these patterns in a real conversation with an AI partner. See you in the next lesson.